As outlined by Andrew Elliott, it is through three phases that the historical Middle Ages are rendered as banal medievalisms: historical appropriation, intercultural retransmission, and ideological modification. In other words, banality is identified as when something, be it an individual, idea, group, or event from the Middle-aged past, is taken out of historical context, denuded of its uniqueness, eccentricity, and its social and cultural rough edges rounded, is repackaged into a ready-made politicized format as a symbol, and is then used to wage both actual and ideological warfare. The incredibly convoluted, mashed up, and ahistoric understanding of the Knights Templar by Norwegian white supremacist Anders Breivik is a great example of banal medievalism because it outlines the three stages of the transformation of the Middle Age from thing in itself to politicized ideological weapon, and it parallels what Hannah Arendt described as the banality of evil. Alongside his identifying with Vikings, video game characters, and anti-Islamic bloggers, Breivik considered himself to be a modern iteration of a crusading Templar knight. How he came to this identity is traceable, following the stages of radicalization, but also showing how dangerous unchecked, unblinkered, and unhinged presentations of the past can be when they become politicized. Understanding the cut and paste style of Breivik's manifesto makes it clear that his usage of the medieval was merely as a sort of spicing slash flavoring to an already jumbled up ideological bouillabaisse. Further, I've achieved a new layer to my understanding to Arendt's influential analysis of the perpetration of the Holocaust in learning of Breivik's banal usage of the medieval. Eliot has come across a genocidal bellwether in his explication of banal medievalism and several markers of it, but he has also created a tool for identifying it and now a clearer reason for addressing it. Finally, for the last question, I was immediately struck with two examples when reading the introduction of Eliot's book. Though it's not politically framed, the brilliantly banal lyrics from the Smiths' iconic 1986 post-punk hit Big Mouth Strikes Again instantly comes to mind as a few lines from the song reference Joan of Arc in a ludic way. And I've included the lyrics. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt as the flames rose to her Roman nose and her Walkman started to melt. And later, and now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt as the flames rose to her Roman nose and her hearing aids started to melt. I find the banality of medievalism in the dated reference to a Sony Walkman and the hearing aid, and in the fact that the singer is identifying with only one aspect of the historical heroine, her martyrdom. I think the banality is also present in the usage of Joan of Arc as an example of someone suffering in the light of a banal situation, the fallout from an everyday misunderstanding. Though I know he generally identified with the outre and with outsiders, I cannot claim any esoteric knowledge about the reasons why Morrissey chose to refer to Joan of Arc in particular. The song in its entirety is about him suffering the effects of someone misunderstanding his darker sense of humor, likening his suffering to that of Joan's in a coy and clever way. I can clearly remember as a high schooler hearing the lyrics for the first time of many times and wondering why Morrissey would choose Joan of Arc for the lyric. After listening many more times on my own Walkman, I ultimately concluded that it was due to his tendency to align himself with heroines from the past, to portray himself as ever suffering and misunderstood, and his ability to make witty references. The second song is entitled Maid of Orleans, the Waltz of Joan of Arc, and was released by Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark in 1982. Its exemplification of banality is in its music more than the lyrics. Processional, martial, and triumphant are words I would use to describe this new wave sound, though the song's lyrics are more syrupy and trite. If Joan of Arc had a heart, would she give it as a gift to such as me, who longs to see how an angel ought to be. Her dreams to give her heart away like an orphan on a wave. She cared so much she offered up her body to the grave. Again, the banality is present in the selection of Joan of Arc, this time as the subject of the song, though written lyrically with a decidedly different tone than the Smiths. Supposedly written on the 550th anniversary of Joan's death, the lyrics are so vapid and devoid of detailed historical understandings that it renders them hagiographic and schmaltzy. Again, it's in the music that I hear a banal connection to the medieval past, as this particular band is considered to be in the canon of new wave synth pop and was a huge hit in both Britain and in Europe.